Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you how to do the measurements and use a structural sketch to help you when drawing a portrait of a person in frontal view. In other words, a person looking straight at you. So when you draw a face, the structural sketch gives you general measurements of the actual size of the face, the shape of the face, and where facial features will go. Now, most people's faces are generally oval shaped. Remember, this is a structural sketch, so we break it down to very basic shapes. Then you have a vertical line through the center of the oval that goes through the tip of the nose, the center of the mouth, and the center of the chin. This is the central axis line. Then you have a horizontal line going through the eyes in the center, halfway down or in the middle of this oval. This is the eye line. This is where your eyes go. Your eyes are not higher up or lower down. Your eyes are in the center of this oval. Alright, remember these are structural lines, so draw them very lightly. These are just to give you something to compare the actual placement and sizes of your model's face. The bottom of the nose is halfway down from the eye line to the tip of the chin. The center line of the mouth is between a third and halfway down from the bottom of the nose to the tip of the chin. The eyebrows, the top of the eyebrows is generally more or less a third up from the eye line to the top of the face. Now let's check where the nose and mouth are placed. The sides of the nose is generally in line with the inner corners of the eyes. The corners of the mouth is generally in line with the pupils of the eyes. Now this is when the person looks straight forward, right? When the eyes are turned to the side, the corners of the mouth is in line with the center of the eyes, not the pupils. Alright. Eyes are surprisingly big. So here you have the oval shape of the face, the general basic oval shape of the face, right? You have the sizes of the two eyes. In between the eyes, in general, fits another eye size, as well as on either side of the face of the eyes. So in general, they can fit 5 eyes next to each other with 1 eye size space between the eyes. Now remember, this is a general measurement. Your model's eyes may be a bit closer together or a bit further apart. So check. These measurements, general measurements, are to give you a reference to compare your model's features against. Okay. Now the actual shape of the face is not a perfect oval. The perfect oval or rough oval that you do in your structural sketch is only to help you get the basic size and shape of the face, okay? Then you use this and the spaces between this oval and the actual edge of the face as negative spaces to draw the actual shape of the face. let's take a closer look at the eyes. You will notice that the inner corner of the eyes are normally slightly lower than the outer corner of the eyes. The highest point of the upper eyelid is closer to the inner corner of the eye. The upper eyelid has a bigger curve, is more curved than the lower lid of the eye, and in general the eye forms a rough triangle shape. But again, faces are not perfectly symmetrical, so the two eyes on one person's face may differ very slightly. You will have to pay very close attention to that. Now the curve of the folds above the eyes. When you draw those, and those are very, very important curves, so do not ignore them. In this photograph you can see that the curve on the left side of the face, by the left eye of this girl, looks different than the curve for the right eye. By the right eye, it actually touches the eyelashes, which it doesn't do by the left eye. So observe very carefully, because these curves, like all other facial features, are very uniquely individual for each person. So use the negative space between the curve and the upper lid of the eye to get the shape of this fold right. Now let's get to the shape of the eyebrow and how it extends towards the inner corner of the eye. Again, use the negative space between the fold above the eye and the underside of the eyebrow to draw the shape of the eyebrow correctly. You may want to make this line very, very light, because most of it is going to be shading in the end. Then you have to look at the actual shape of the eyebrow. The highest point of this curve is, unlike with the actual shape of the eye, this the highest point of the eyebrow shape is closer to the outer corner of the eye. The eyebrow also tapers out towards the outer edge of the face, and the inner point of the eyebrow is not a straight vertical line down. It normally tapers inwards or towards the outer edge of the face or the outer corner of the eye. And also, not all people's eyebrows extend extend right up to the inner corner or beyond the inner corner of the eye towards the nose. You do get people where this happens, but just check. Make sure, compare where the eyebrow stops to where the inner corner of the eye is. Now the lower lid of the eye has a flatter curve, and it also has a double line, because we can see the thickness of the skin here, and it has a little bit of an upward curve right next to the inner corner of the eye, or close to the inner corner of the eye. And as I said, a double line, because we can actually see the thickness of the skin here. Now when you draw the eye, keep in mind that the eye is a big round ball inside the socket, the bone structure. Right, so there would be your eyeball. Keep this in mind, right? Then the iris is a ball as well, or is a circle on this ball for the eyeball. And the pupil again is another circle on the surface of this big round eyeball. The eyelids and the flesh around it obscures parts of this big round eyeball with the round iris and sometimes even a little bit of the pupil. Just keep that in mind. Let's get to nostrils. Nostrils are not big round holes in your face. Nostrils have a bigger curve at the top, for the top of the nostril, and a smaller curve for the bottom of the nostril. And nostrils again are very, very uniquely individual shapes. So observe your model's nostrils carefully before drawing them. Also, nostrils are not necessarily the same on either side of the nose. They do differ. Remember, faces are not perfectly symmetrical. Right, let's get to the mouth. The line between the lips of the mouth is not a single perfect curve like in cartoons. The fleshiness of the lips creates more curves with a slight downward curve in the center of the mouth and slight upward curves where the lower lip is thicker and pressing against the upper lip. And remember, the corners of the mouth is in line with the centers of the eyes. Now the edges of the lips are suggested with very, very light lines, because in the end, the edges of the lips will only be shading, not harsh edges. The indent, make special notice, take care of that indent in the center of the upper lip. That's also a very uniquely individual feature. And normally there's a little bit of a flatness to the curve of the lower lip in the center. Also, generally, people's lower lips are thicker than their upper lips, are more fleshy. Right, now generally, in line with the bottom of the nose, we're looking at the ears now, where the ears go. The bottom of the ear, the bottom tip of the ear is in line with the bottom of the nose. And normally the top of the ears will be in line with the eyebrows. But don't draw what you can't see. Alright, in this case, we can't see the top of the ears because it's behind the hair. The hair is falling over the ear. So we only draw what we see. So we will draw the outer edge of the ear, and then we will draw a very light line only indicating the cavities and folds of the inside of the ear, and only what we can see of that. Right, so we have the oval for the face. Now remember that the rest of the head and the hair are bigger than you think. The skull houses the entire brain, so it can't be too small. And this is a common mistake that beginners make, is to make the rest of the head, the rest of the skull too small. And then hair adds volume on top of the skull. So for people who have hair, if your model has a bald head, of course you will only basically draw the skull with the skin and a little bit of flesh on top of it. But if your model has hair, look very, very carefully and make sure that you add enough volume for the hair. But then again, not too much. Someone with short hair let's say a crew cut, for instance, won't have that much, the hair won't add that much volume. So observe your model. Then, when you draw hair, you don't draw every single hair. There are millions of them on one person's head. What you do is, you suggest the general flow of strands of hair. Because when you start shading the hair, you are shading the strands of the hair, not individual, all those millions of individual hairs. So hairs are more like a gestural sketch. You just suggest the general flow and growth of strands of hair, not single hairs. Right, let's get to the neck. You've got the basic shape or the actual shape of the face. Where does the neck attach? The neck attaches to underneath the jaw, in line with where the ear attaches to the jaw. A common mistake beginners make is to draw necks too narrow. Remember, the neck is made up of quite strong muscles because it has to support and move the entire head that's made up of thick bone structure, the entire brain, flesh and hair. So necks can't be too narrow. Again, don't draw something you don't see. On the right hand side here, the hair is falling over part of the neck, so I can't see that. So the only thing I can actually see is where the shoulder attaches to the neck, and that's the only thing I can draw there. Okay, now let me show you how all of this comes together when you draw a frontal view portrait.